Welcome back, S'mores, to Beyond the Campfire. I'm your good-looking host, Will the Cowboy, here with the wrong Indian, but we got an Indian. Cowboys and Indians. Steven the man. Welcome back, guys. We got a really fun special episode that Steven had an old man moment. When you've been doing this for 2 years, as long as we have, you sometimes think you've already done episodes, but we have not done this episode. It's the first time we're doing this episode. And if you guys are new here, um, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Beyond Campfire. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. And if you like things spooky, whether that's the government going bump in the night or, your dead grandma, we're the place for you. What do you got for us today, Steve?
So today we got the Elisa Lam story. So if you don't know who that is, she is someone that disappeared in January of 2013. And yeah, the circumstances of her disappearance, and kind of without spoiling too much, just like things that happen later, uh, just are odd, are very strange. So we're going to go through all of it. We're going to go through Elisa Lam, who she was, the events leading up to her disappearance, the hotel where the events happened at, and then the theories, right? Is there possibly a natural explanation for it, or was there something more sinister going on? So, nothing too complicated. This shouldn't be a terribly long episode, but it is a case that, kind of still remains unsolved. People have their own thoughts and opinions about what exactly happened, and we'll kind of just go through all of those things. So, okay, cool. So, our location is the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. And maybe that sounds familiar to you, maybe it does not. But the Cecil Hotel, already before this story even begins, is infamous. And the reason is it is the scene where at least two serial killers, possibly more, have been found hiding before. So uh, you had Richard Ramirez and you had Jack Unterweger, both guys who killed multiple people. Both of them had stayed at that hotel. Some of the murders and suicides had happened in this hotel. So, because of this history, many have long believed that the hotel is either haunted or spiritually oppressive. So that already is kind of just a background
Yeah.
of this hotel, right? Now we have Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver traveling alone through California. She checked into that historic Cecil Hotel in downtown LA on in January, and that was the last time she was seen alive. So Elisa Lam, if you can't tell by her last name, she is a woman of Asian descent, though by citizenship she was someone that was from Canada, born in
Yep.
Vancouver in April on April 30th, 1991. And Elisa Lam suffered from depression. She also suffered from bipolar disorder. That's kind of going to be important later when we talk about some of the theories about what exactly happened with her. But so she takes this trip uh, to California by herself. So she's not with family, she's not with friends. And this video comes out, and well, let's get to the video a little bit later. So we'll talk about the video. The video is still up on the internet, so you can go.
Yep.
But it's of Elisa
Yeah.
Lam on an elevator, and she acts strangely, to put it very mildly, right?
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So she's last seen alive through that elevator footage, and again, we'll circle back to that footage. She acts strange, and then she goes up to the rooftop, and she's not seen again. She's not seen again. So she disappears January 31st, 2013. And weeks later, hotel guests start to complain to the hotel staff saying, hey, the water pressure's low. I'm trying to take a shower here, trying to get clean.
Yeah.
I know
I'm a dirty boy.
I'm Indian. People tell me I need to take a shower all the time, right? So,
See, it's not his fault. It's because
right?
the water pressure sucks. India
Right.
needs to get better water pressure, man. That's
Here I
what
am. I'm trying to take a shower. I'm trying to get clean. Water pressure, very, very low, right? Something's
yeah.
up.
That's why Indian people stink. It's because over in India, the water pressure just sucks.
There you go. There you go. So what's going on with the water pressure, right? How come the water tanks aren't pumping it out? Also, people whenever they're getting their drinking water, whether it's from the faucet or something else, they also reported a strange taste in the drinking water. So what the heck's going on, right? You can't take a shower. Your water's tasting a little funny. So
Yeah.
maintenance is like, okay, well, let's go check the water tanks up in the roof, right?
Yeah.
That's where the water comes from.
Yeah.
And this is where the story gets dark. So on February 19th, so uh, about 2.5 weeks after Elisa Lam disappeared, was last seen, the maintenance crew goes up, they open up the water tanks, and they discover the body of Elisa Lam inside one of the large water tanks. Dead.
Man, Steven's really feeling at home now in India. Water pressure's low and the water is nasty.
Yeah.
Water. I try to do an Indian accent. Hello, very poor water condition.
So I love my Hindu friends, but the Ganges River where they do their ritual ceremonial cleansing, not the cleanest place in the world.
No, hey, it's a great place though. You can go poop, and then you can go worship.
There you go, there you go. So anyway, lest we offend any Hindus that might be watching this podcast,
Anyways, back to the other Asian.
there you go. The other Asian who was found dead in the water, really sad actually. Yeah, 21 years old. I'm in my late 20s now, so like the thought of me having died at like several years ago is kind of crazy.
Well, you almost did, but
Oh yeah. Well, that's true, right? So, um, yeah. For some of you that don't know, I got shot at a few years ago. Had a
he
one.
didn't just get shot at. He got like penetrated.
Yeah, yeah. That's one way to put it. So anyway, by the grace of God, I'm alive. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, back to the lady who didn't survive.
Yeah, Elisa Lam unfortunately did not make it. So, what happened? How does a 21-year-old college student end up dead in a water tank? That seems odd, right? That seems bizarre. That's not something that normally happens. So,
No.
people start to look up the footage. And yeah, again, it's still up on the internet. So if you type in Elisa Lam elevator video, it's been released as public, so you can go watch it. But just to kind of describe the video to you, Elisa Lam gets on the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
The doors don't close, so either she had pressed multiple buttons or she had stepped in and out repeatedly. But yeah, she starts to act weird. She's like hiding against a wall. She's doing like weird stuff with her hands, and like nobody's there, right? Like she's just there by herself, and she's doing these weird things for several minutes.
Yeah.
And if you watch the video, according to some, and at least to me, at least too, it seems like she's interacting with
Mm.
someone who's not there, someone unseen to the eye. Again, the elevator door appears to stay open unusually long. There's, again, natural reasons for why that might be the case. There could also be supernatural reasons of why the elevator door is not quite
Mm-hmm.
closing the way it should. But yeah, the one of the questions I had is why hadn't anybody checked up on her before? Like, presumably
Yeah.
Eliza Lamb had checked into the hotel and had a checkout date. And I mean, unless she had booked this hotel room for several weeks, she had obviously missed her checkout time, right?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
little suspicious.
so that's odd. And there's actually some theories that she was unalived, that someone was stalking her and they killed her, possibly with the hotel's help, that the hotel was involved. And that would explain why the hotel hadn't released this footage earlier, or things like that. So we'll um we'll get into that. But yeah, so again, the water tanks are on the roof. How did she get up there? Maintenance was the only one that had access to the roof. Doors
Mm,
were reportedly locked. Alarms were present, right? So even if somebody were to somehow get up onto the roof, alarms would have gone off. And yeah, however, however she did it, Elisa Lam got past the locked doors. She got past the alarms. The alarms did not go off, and she
yep.
somehow ended up dead in those water tanks.
How big are those water tanks, by the way?
They're huge. They're very large. They're very heavy. They're very elevated.
How tall are they? How high up off the ground do you have to be to get in there?
Yeah, they're high. Let me look up how specifically it is. But it would have been very very difficult.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna
For,
say was like if she was able, like if she killed herself, she got past the security, got past the doors. I'm just curious about how tall these tanks were to see if she could get in there.
right. Yeah. Okay. So these tanks were 8 to 10 feet tall.
Yeah, there's no
They,
way.
they sat on concrete blocks, and yeah, they were on a platform at least 10 feet above the roof level. So she would have had to, first of all, get on the roof, which was hard enough
Yeah.
with the reasons we just explained. She then had to climb up the 10-foot platform to get to the tank, and then she had to climb up the 10-foot
Wait.
tank.
So is the platform 10 feet or is the tank 10 feet?
The platform is 10 feet, and the tank is 10 feet. So she had to
Golly.
climb 20 feet to get into the tank. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Let's
just
see.
very odd. And for some of the people that suggested that she's either having a manic episode or she's trying to unalive herself, um, I think there's some problems with that theory, which we'll
Yeah.
get to in a second. So, yeah, there's also a couple of other weird things that happened. So during the time that Elisa Lam was in Los Angeles, there was a outbreak of tuberculosis, and one of the tuberculosis tests that were administered in LA during that time was
Hmm.
called the Lam Elisa test. Not Elisa Lam, but yeah, Lam Elisa test, which is
Mm.
really really weird because like,
Yeah.
why is she in LA, and how is there just happen to be a test named after her, right? Like,
Yeah. That's fishy.
yeah, so it's just it's odd. Uh, why was she by herself too? Apparently, she was just doing a solo vacation. So
Mm. That's weird too. Like who goes on vacation by themselves?
yeah, yeah, you know, um, yeah, just kind of odd. So here's the official report, and Ian will have our fair share of criticisms of the government. Will a bit
Yeah, I
more
don't really like
dramatic,
them.
right? But yeah, so the LA County coroner officially ruled that the cause of death was accidental drowning. They said that she had bipolar disorder, that this was a manic episode, psychotic episode, and nothing to see here, no foul play.
Hmm.
Just had been prescribed medications
Hmm.
for bipolar and depression, and she stopped taking it while she was traveling, and that caused her to do this thing.
Yep.
So that's the first theory, right? That's the kind of boring one, is the bipolar manic disorder
Well,
episode.
the problem I have with that theory is, like we said, like how the heck did she get up there?
Hmm.
You know, because like when you look at the footage of them climbing to get her out of the tanks, these guys are standing on ladders. There's no ladder nearby. You
Yeah,
know.
and here's the thing: Elisa Lam is not like this freak athlete or something. You can, not to judge her or anything, but you look at her in the elevator video, and she's not like a prime physical
Yeah.
specimen like that. So
So you tell me that this lady, and the other thing too, like even if she was, physically well, like I mean, this is saying that if she's having a psychotic break, she's having one of her manic episodes. Through that, she's somehow able to, if there was a ladder found nearby, you tell me she dragged a ladder up to the water tank, climbed up the tank, kicked the ladder over, make it look like she wasn't there, and then somehow jumped in.
right, yeah, it
That
just
that's what gets me. It's because it's like, I mean, you're telling me that somehow this lady who's having a psychotic break can climb a 10-foot tank.
yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so that's the first theory. The second theory is that somebody was stalking her, right? So that there was
Mm,
somebody that had it in for her, that they're following her, that they chased her, and that they forced her into the water tank, right?
yeah. See, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Uh, Again, if this conspiracy theory is true, and it would say that the hotel was in on it, right? That there's some staff involvement and cover up. This would explain like why nobody was checking the cameras. This would explain why the alarms didn't go off. This would explain why the doors didn't go up. And then lastly, it would explain how she even gets into the water tank. Again, highly unlikely that, this 21-year-old college girl is going to be able to climb up and purposefully jump into this thing. Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Supernatural theory: the hotel is cursed, right? That there's various spirits going around, and so uh, based on some of her interactions, it's possible that she's interacting with either some kind of ghost or some kind of like demonic force. And her movements looked like, um, I saw that this exorcist watched a video, and he said like the way she was like reaching out and stuff was consistent with some people he had cast demons out of, and he said like, yeah, it's like it seems like she's either interacting with or wrestling with a demon. So if you believe that exorcist, then potentially she was like engaged in some kind of spiritual warfare with dark energy forces. Cecil Hotel is a paranormal hotspot. Many paranormal explorers have gone there and have found like hot spots and cold spots. Multiple ghost sightings have also been reported at the hotels.
Yep.
So yeah, those really are the three theories. Is
Hmm.
have she was sick, she was crazy, she somehow ended up in the water tank, and that's how she died. There's the she was murdered by somebody theory, and that hotel covered it up, and that's why it took them so long to even find her body. Because again, she went missing January 31st. Presumably, she fell in that same day. So for almost 3 weeks, none of
Yeah.
that. So
Well, I think the one theory that you and I probably both agree, I think is the least plausible, is she had the manic episode and climbed in the tank herself. Because I don't know, it's just weird. It's a little weird, a little off. It's just because it's like you said, like I mean, if this was like, this tank wasn't that high, or there's a ladder found nearby, or whatever, I could probably be like, yeah, she probably killed herself, or or maybe she didn't mean to, and she was just having an episode, climbed up the ladder and got in the tank, and then somehow drowned. Sure, by all means, but there's no ladder found nearby. There's no way to like for her to get up there and get in the tank.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I don't agree with that theory. Um, the next two theories could definitely be plausible. I'll go with the supernatural theory first to kind of I guess explain my thoughts on that one a little bit. Um, we do know that demons can hurt us and harm us. I don't think it's not possible to say that they can't kill us. Um, but that is a very plausible thing. I just don't know how she would have gotten in the tank if she was possessed. Um, I don't know, unless don't know. The most plausible one I think is what I could see is this is we go with a stalker theory, and there's maybe like a hotel employee who has access to check in, check outs, and knows the code and combinations, and then he somehow murdered her. Maybe he went to her hotel room and murdered her in the bathtub and then dumped her body in the tank. Or maybe he got her up on the roof somehow. That to me seems most plausible because I don't know, it makes it seem a lot easier if it's like because then that explains why there's no ladder nearby, how she got into the tank because somebody was there and carried her up the ladder and tossed her in. And maybe with it being a hotel employee, that's why they could access the card, like access the door, the rooftop access, and then that probably could also explain the reason why they might have gone to the computer and like erased her name out, like like to say she's not here, she checked out. You know,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know what to think. There's just too many weird things in this story, uh, and it's just like I don't know. The official government report like just has holes in it too, where I'm like that doesn't make sense, and it makes you wonder what they were hiding. It makes you wonder.
yeah.
Um,
Well, like I said, like I think the biggest hole in this theory, like in the first theory, is if you're, it doesn't matter if it's the government talking or who, but if the official report of death, I don't care if the government's involved or what. If you're telling me that somehow this lady, who Stephen here says, like we're not trying to say she's fat when we say that she's not peak physical. She's not like a athlete that's running around the track all the time and training and pumping, irons and stuff. But even then, like I looked at the tanks. I just looked at the picture of the tanks, and I'm pretty fit, and I don't think I could climb in that tank.
right, exactly.
And plus, she's probably short, so the whole put your arms above your head and jump and try to grab on and pull yourself up. Like I'm 5'8", I probably can't do that on a 10-foot tank. My arms extended up, probably only go 7 8 feet. I can't jump 2 feet in the air. Um, And so that's why to me, just there's no way she could get in the tank by herself. There's no plausible explanation to explain how she got into the tank. You know, I mean, if you can tell me how she got in the tank, then sure, maybe we can figure out the mystery. Maybe we can solve it. But for right now, it seems like third parties involved. There was someone else, or maybe there's more than one person.
For sure.
You know.
I got a very quick ChatGPT story for us, and
Oh,
after this might be the last time I do ChatGPT stories. I
yeah,
think I might start writing them myself.
yeah.
Uh,
Steven and I, we've come to the conclusion. We're going to try our best to not use ChatGPT now that we're getting a little bit more episodes in, and we enjoy the ChatGPT. We enjoy. I won't say that we enjoyed the ChatGPT stories. I think what we enjoyed was having the story to kind of place us in there because at the moment, Steven and I are definitely not able to go to these locations just yet. If you want us to, make sure you guys go to our Patreon at Beyond Campfire, and yeah, I was wondering if we were gonna have a ChatGPT because that's kind of like. Which, by the way, I think I would definitely say this about this case. Um, don't think like if you guys want, we probably are going to end up covering it. We will probably, if you're sitting there like, okay, great, we heard a lot about Elisa Lam. Let's hear about the rest of Cecil Hotel. There probably will be an episode about the rest of Cecil Hotel. So we'll go through the history, the serial killers, the hauntings, everything.
All right, so I'll read this story, and hey, if you like the ChatGPT stories, enjoy, because again, this is probably the last time I'm doing it. Uh, but
Don't
hopefully,
worry, don't worry. We got a story for next week on my episode, but it's a little different than ChatGPT because I had somebody actually write it. So
there you go. All right, so Beyond the Campfire presents the water tank mystery. So in this story, you and me are cops in LA at the time. So night has settled over Los Angeles, the city glowing under a haze of neon traffic lights and distant sirens. Inside a cramped office at the LAPD, Detective Steven leans over a desk stacked with paperwork. Across from him, his partner, Detective Will, sits in a chair tipped back on two legs, cowboy boots resting on the edge of the desk. Steven glanced up. You're gonna break that chair. Will didn't move. Nah. The chair creaked ominously. Steven sighed. You're a homicide detective, not a rodeo rider. Will tipped his hat back. Same skill set. Steven opened his mouth to reply when a knock came at the door. A young officer came in holding a folder. Missing persons report. Steven sat up. From who? The Cecil Hotel. Will lowered his boots. I've heard of that place. Bunch of serial killers and ghosts over there. That's not ominous at all. Steven took the folder. Tourist hasn't returned to her room. Staff says her belongings are still there. Will stood. How long? 2 days. Steven nodded. All right. They grabbed their coat and headed out. The Cecil Hotel loomed large above downtown like a tired relic from another century. Will stepped out of the car and looked up at the building. You ever notice the creepiest buildings have the cheapest rent? Steven shut the car door. Focus. They walked into the dim lobby. Hotel manager met them near the front desk. You the detectives? Steven nodded. Detective Steven. This is Detective Will. Will tipped his hat. The manager wrung her hands. She checked in alone. Quiet girl, kept to herself. Steven opened the folder. Name? The manager read from her clipboard. Elisa Lam. Steven wrote it down. Last seen? 2 nights ago. Will glanced around the lobby. Anyone see her leave? Manager shook her head. Steven closed a notebook. Let's see the room. The hallway was narrow and dim. Will pushed open the hotel room door. Lights flickered on. The room looked normal. Too normal. Steven stepped inside slowly. Don't touch anything. Will looked around. Relax. I'm not a rookie. He scanned the room. Bed made, suitcase open, clothes neatly folded. Steven checked the desk. A passport. Flipped it open. Canadian. Will groaned dramatically. Ah, great. Steven glanced up. What? Will shook his head. Those dang Canadians?
no
Yeah,
Mexicans.
us Americans. Steven rolled his eyes. You are unbelievable. Will raised his hands. What? I'm just saying, we're better. Steven closed the passport. She's missing, Will. Will cleared his throat. All right, all right. Steven rubbed his forehead. He opened a suitcase. Inside were travel items, guidebooks, cameras, medication bottles. He opened up one. Prescription. Will leaned over. For what? Steven read the label. Mood stabilizer. Huh? Will said. Steven placed it back. Looks like she was traveling alone. He opened the bathroom door. Nothing unusual. So what do we know? Will said. Stephen listed the facts. 21 years old, tourist, traveling solo from Canada. Will nodded slowly. And she just happened to vanish from this hotel. Stephen looked around again. You really think this place is haunted? You know how many people have unalived themselves up in this thing? He's like, this place is probably crawling with ghosts. I don't know. People just don't disappear like that, though, Stephen said. Sometimes they do, Will said. Stephen shrugged, too early to say. They walked out of the room. The investigation had just begun. Chapter 2 The Tank. February 19th began like any other gray morning in LA. Detective Stephen was halfway through a cup of coffee when the phone rang. Across the desk, Detective Will was reading the sports section. Stephen answered. Detective Stephen? A nervous voice came through the line. "De- Detective? This is the manager from Cecil Hotel. You told us to call if anything strange happened." Stephen straightened. Yes? There was a pause. The manager spoke again, voice trembling. We found something on the roof." Stephen's stomach tightened. What kind of something? You you need to come up here. Stephen stood immediately. Will lowered his newspaper. What is it? Stephen grabbed his coat. They found something in the water tanks. Will didn't ask another question. They were out the door in seconds. Red and blue lights flashed against the weathered brick of Cecil Hotel as police cars lined the street. Will and Stephen pushed past the lobby and hurried up the narrow stairwell. At the roof door, a maintenance worker looked pale and shaking. You guys are the detectives? Stephen nodded. What happened? The man swallowed. Guests complained about the water. Pressure was bad. Tasted strange. He gestured toward the tanks. So we checked. Stephen and Will stepped onto the roof. Four massive black water tanks stood against the skyline. An officer stood beside one of them. The lid rested on the ground. Stephen's heart sank. He approached slowly. Then he looked inside. He froze. Floating in the dark water was the body of a young woman. Will stepped up beside him. For once, the cowboy said nothing. Stephen exhaled slowly. It's her. Will nodded quietly. Yeah. Stephen glanced down. Elisa Lam. Within minutes, the rooftop was filled with investigators. Crime scene tape stretched across the area. Coroner team carefully lifted the body from the tank. Stephen stood nearby taking notes. Lid was open. Maintenance worker nodded. Stephen wrote it down. Anyone come up here recently? No. Will crouched near the ladder leading up the tank. How hard is it to get up here? Door downstairs is usually locked. And the alarms? Man shrugged. Uh, Sometimes guests sneak up here, I guess. Will nodded, but then shook his head. Why didn't the alarms go off? Said, raising an eyebrow. The man looked away. Will looked at him intently, but said nothing. Later that afternoon, Will and Stephen stood beside the coroner examining the preliminary findings. Any trauma? Coroner shook his head. None. Will frowned. No defensive wounds. No. Stephen looked surprised. Signs of assault? Nothing. Will leaned against the wall. Cause of death? Drowning. Will rubbed his temples. You're telling me this 21-year-old college girl climbed up a 10-foot platform and then a 10-foot tank, bypassed alarms, bypassed security, bypassed locks, and jumped into that water tank? Coroner shrugged, but looked nervous. That's what happened. Will frowned. That don't sit right with me. That evening, Stephen and Will sat in a dim evidence room. Stephen replayed the hotel elevator footage again. On the screen, Elisa Lam stepped into the elevator, pressed several buttons, peered into the hallway, jumped back inside. Her hands moved strangely, as if she were talking or hiding. Stephen leaned forward, disturbed. This is unsettling. Will sipped coffee calmly, cool as a cucumber. Stephen glanced at him. You don't find this disturbing? Will shook his head. She looks terrified. Yeah, Stephen says. Who was she talking to? Stephen looked up at Will. What are you suggesting? Like I told you earlier, that place is haunted with spirits. I'm telling you. That building has more death in it than a battlefield. Stephen sighed. I don't know, Will. I just don't see any evidence. Will nodded casually. Neither is pretending ghosts don't exist. Stephen rubbed his face. You want me to put ghost in a police report? Will grinned. Hey, that'd spice it up. Weeks later, the investigation dragged on. Will and Stephen interviewed guests, checked roof access logs, reviewed security footage. Nothing. No suspect, no witnesses, no explanation. Only the night they stood in Cecil Hotel.
That it?
Against a police car. You believe any of this? Stephen said, I believe the evidence, even if I don't understand everything that happened. Will looked at the dark rooftop. I still think ghosts. Finally, Stephen said, some mysteries don't get solved. They walked off into the cold, dark LA night. A neon sign buzzed overhead, and somewhere high above them, the water tank sat silent.
Man.
That's great.
You know what? Because of us being detectives like that, you know what really got me kind of thinking?
Yeah.
I was thinking like a detective, right? So a lot of people think she was having a manic episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if she was on her meds, she shouldn't have had the episode,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
So
No.
here's what I'm thinking as a detective, I don't know if they thought about this, but what I would have done is okay, we found her mood stabilizers. I would have called the pharmacy she filled it out with, been like, "Hey, I'm with LAPD. We're investigating a case. I need you to look up when she got this prescription filled." And like,
Right.
let's say she got the prescription filled, 12 days before the incident, and she had taken 12 pills up to that point, and then she took only take one a day, then we can know that she took a pill, and had the mood stable. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking about, but that probably wasn't thought about by anybody at the time. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's just so many things that
it's
just feel
weird.
like a cover up, and I don't know. This case really does not sit well with me at all.
No, there's just so much wrong with it.
It's such a weird case.
It's so weird. I don't like it. Mm-mm. So yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, tell us what you think. Like, are you in the boat of she killed herself? If so, you've got a lot of explaining to tell us how to do it, because we need how to suicide for dummies 101. Because I don't know how she would have gotten that tank by herself or nothing, unless there's somebody there helping her. But yeah, you got anything else for us, Steve?
That's all I got, brother. So
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you guys like this content. And the elevator opened, the water turned dark, and the mystery never left.